Everyone thought Rue McClanahan lived the glamorous, man-hungry life of Blanche Devereaux. But just before she passed away, she whispered a confession that changed everything. Behind the laughter of the Golden Girls lay a secret regret she carried for decades, one that her co-stars never saw coming. When the cameras stopped rolling on the set of the most beloved sitcom of the 1980s, the audience believed the magic was real. We all bought into the fantasy. He pictured Rue, B. Arthur, Betty White, and Estelle Getty sharing cheesecake in the middle of the night, solving life's problems with razor-sharp wit and an unbreakable sisterhood. Blanche Devereaux was the ultimate symbol of sexual liberation for women of a certain age. She was unapologetic, fiercely independent, and commanded the attention of every man who walked into a room. She was wealthy, secure, and seemingly invincible. But the paradox of persona is a dangerous trap in Hollywood. The woman breathing life into this fiercely independent character was actually drowning in a sea of crippling insecurity, financial devastation, and a lifelong search for the one thing Blanche Devereaux never truly needed, which was male validation. To understand the profound tragedy of Rue McClanahan's final days, you have to understand the psychological armor she wore every single time she stepped onto that Miami-inspired soundstage. The public saw a woman who had the world on a string, but the private reality was a harrowing journey of profound self-doubt. Let us dive deep into the reality of Rue's life, which stood in stark, agonizing contrast to the woman we saw on television. To the world, she was the ultimate man-eater, but in reality, Rue was married 6 different times. While Blanche brought men home for sport, treating them as disposable accessories to her fabulous life, Rue married them out of a deep, agonizing desperation to feel loved and secure. She detailed this grueling cycle in her deeply personal autobiography, aptly titled My First 5 Husbands and the Ones Who Got Away. But this book was not a comedic romp through a glamorous Hollywood love life. It was a documented history of childhood trauma, continuous betrayal, and catastrophic financial loss. Her first marriage to Tom Bish in the 1950s ended almost as quickly as it began. It left her as a frightened, abandoned single mother who had to flee back to her parents' house in Oklahoma just to survive and figure out how to feed her newborn son. From there, the cycle only accelerated into a dizzying blur of broken vows. She married an old friend mere months after her divorce, simply because she was terrified of facing the world alone. Each subsequent marriage brought its own unique brand of emotional chaos. One husband left her genuinely frightened for her physical safety. Another left her utterly bitter and emotionally hollowed out. And yet another systematically drained her financial resources when he finally walked out the door. She was trapped in a relentless psychological loop, projecting the image of a confident, self-made television star on classic shows like Maude alongside B. Arthur, while behind closed doors, she was systematically giving away her power. She handed over her peace of mind and her hard-earned fortune to men who saw her vulnerability and exploited it. Imagine the agonizing cognitive dissonance of going to work every day, winning an Emmy Award for portraying a woman who has absolute, unquestioned control over men, only to drive home to an empty house, or worse, a house occupied by a man who is actively tearing your self-worth to shreds. She was building an empire on screen while her personal life was reduced to rubble. But right when you think you understand the tragedy of her love life, there is a massive, shocking plot twist that completely alters the story. Because her greatest battle was not against the men who broke her heart. It was a terrifying, silent war she was fighting inside her own body, a secret she went to extraordinary lengths to hide from the public and even her closest friends. You see, while millions of viewers were tuning in every Saturday night to watch the carefree, hilarious antics of the Golden Girls, Rue was secretly fighting for her life, terrified that if she revealed the full extent of her vulnerabilities, the ruthless entertainment industry would throw her away completely. Do not click away, because what happened behind the scenes of her medical crises changes everything you thought you knew about this iconic actress and the darkest secrets of television history. In the late 1990s, well after the Golden Girls had finished its historic run, Rue was diagnosed with breast cancer. For a woman whose entire public identity was deeply, intrinsically tied to her physical allure, her vibrant energy, and her undeniable sex appeal, this medical diagnosis was a psychological earthquake. She underwent grueling treatment, enduring the physical and emotional devastation in relative silence. She felt compelled to project strength, not just to maintain her brave face for her adoring fans, but for her own financial survival. Unlike the wealthy Southern widow she played on television, Rue's string of disastrous marriages and poor financial investments had left her in a highly precarious position. In the early days of television syndication, actors did not receive the massive, continuous streaming payouts that stars enjoy today. She could not afford to simply retire and stop working. She had to keep booking roles, keep making public appearances, and keep the illusion of the fabulous, untouchable Rue McClanahan alive, just to pay her mounting medical bills and support her family. This created an unspoken tension on set and in her personal life. The beautiful paradox of The Golden Girls is that it was a groundbreaking show about women enjoying the golden years of their retirement, financially stable and surrounded by a loving, chosen family. But the real Rue was secretly terrified of dying broke and alone. She was trapped in a relentless hustle, taking on demanding roles in Broadway theater productions and lesser-known television projects long after she should have been resting, simply because she had given away so much of her wealth trying to buy the affection of men who ultimately abandoned her. As she entered her final years, the intense physical toll of her relentless work schedule and her deeply hidden anxieties began to manifest in catastrophic ways. In 2009, she suffered a massive stroke while recovering from heart bypass surgery. This terrifying medical emergency stripped away the final layers of the glamorous facade she had maintained for over 4 decades. The stroke severely impacted her speech and her physical mobility. These were the exact 2 tools she had relied on her entire life to charm the world, deliver brilliant comedic timing, and mask her internal pain. It was during this grueling rehabilitation process, trapped inside a failing body, that the devastating realization of her life's choices fully crystallized in her mind. Her final regret, the confession that haunted her last days before she succumbed to a fatal brain hemorrhage in June of 2010, was not about wishing she had worked more, or wishing she had won more Emmy Awards. It was the agonizing realization that she had spent her entire adult life giving her heart, her money, and her personal power to men who did not deserve a fraction of it, all while ignoring the fierce, independent spirit that she so brilliantly faked on television. She had played a woman who needed absolutely no one to validate her existence, yet she spent her real life begging for that exact validation. She realized, in those quiet, final days, that she had wasted decades searching for a savior in the form of a husband, when she should have been fiercely protecting and saving herself all along. To fully grasp the intense irony and tragedy of this regret, we have to look at the fascinating case study of how she even got the iconic role of Blanche Devereaux in the first place, and how the casting mirrored her life in twisted ways. Originally, the network producers wanted Betty White to play the sexually aggressive Blanche, and they wanted Rue McClanahan to play the naive, sweet, and simple Rose Nyland. It was television director Jay Sandrich who suggested they switch roles right before filming the pilot episode, fearing the actresses would just be repeating similar characters they had played in their past sitcoms. If Rue had played Rose, her personal life might not have been held up in such a painful, direct, and constant contrast to her character's commanding bravado. Betty White, ironically, had the exact opposite real-life trajectory to Rue. Betty experienced one great, profound love with her husband Alan Ludden, and when he tragically passed away from cancer, she firmly chose never to remarry. Betty stated that once you have had the absolute best, you simply do not need the rest. Betty was fiercely independent, financially secure, and emotionally whole all on her own. Rue, on the other hand, was constantly chasing the ghost of the perfect relationship, stumbling from one disastrous marriage to the next. She was acting out a heartbreaking personal tragedy while starring in the greatest television comedy of her generation. The irony is absolutely breathtaking. The woman who taught an entire generation of female viewers how to be sexually empowered, totally unbothered, and proudly independent was, in reality, completely dependent on the toxic, draining cycle of serial monogamy. The immense emotional weight of Rue McClanahan's real life forces us to completely re-examine the entertainment we consume and the incredibly heavy price of global fame. As viewers, we selfishly ask our favorite actors to become flawless avatars for our own desires. We wanted Rue to be Blanche Devereaux so badly that we willingly ignored the deeply vulnerable, exhausted, and frightened woman hiding underneath the colorful shoulder pads and the sparkling sequins. She gave us endless hours of laughter, joy, and comfort, but she paid for it with a lifetime of hidden tears and a final, whispered regret that she had never truly learned to love herself the way she loved the idea of being loved by someone else. Her legacy is absolutely undeniable, but it serves as a powerful, haunting cautionary tale about the extreme dangers of losing your true identity to the fictional persona you create for the world. If you found this deep dive into the hidden tragedies of classic television eye-opening, you will not believe the dark, twisted secrets hidden behind the laughter of another iconic sitcom star. Stay tuned, because the truth behind Hollywood's brightest, most comforting smiles is almost always shrouded in the darkest, most terrifying shadows.